Yeah, so my name's Adama. I'm 26 and I'm a first year medical student at Brighton and Sussex Medical School. So I've wanted to kind of study medicine since back at A levels, but I wasn't able to get in. So I decided that I will take the graduate entry route into medicine. I did a degree in medical microbiology at the University of Leicester, and then I did a master's at UCL, and I studied global health and development. And then I worked for 3 years or so in pharmaceutical consulting. So that's like a bit of my journey.
Perfect. So I guess it's very cliche, but the first question for myself would be, why medicine? Obviously, your degrees almost complement the fact that you want to study medicine, but as a general, like, what drove you to study medicine?
Well, yeah, it's gonna sound really cliche, but I like helping people. That was like one of the main factors in me applying to medicine. I like the fact that medicine gives you this opportunity to have a direct impact on somebody else's life. And medicine as a career is intellectually challenging and it's also quite stimulating. So no 2 days are the same. And you're learning about the human body, you're learning about different like diseases and conditions, things that actually affect us. And you have an opportunity to improve health outcomes for other people. And I just like the fact that there's so much variety within medicine. Like you don't just have to work in a hospital. Like you can work in a clinic. You can work in research. You can work in consulting. So once you study medicine, like it just gives you like so many opportunities to do other things as well.
Yeah, I think personally speaking to the previous guests that I've had on, I think you're the first person that's actually gone on to progress into actual employment and has studied a master's and then decided you want to study graduate entry medicine post employment. So I guess starting from the beginning of your application process, what sort of work experience or volunteering did you undertake?
Okay, yeah. So back at school, so when I did my A levels, I had the opportunity to shadow a consultant urologist. So one of the doctors came into my school. They gave like a talk about like a career in medicine, and then afterwards they gave like a couple of students a chance to actually shadow them on the wards. So that was really good. I did 2 weeks of that, and then I also did like a few like summer schools here and there. And after school, when I went to uni, I worked, did like an internship in a lab. It's not really like clinical, but it was something related to medicine. And then afterwards, I worked in a care home as a care assistant. Just I worked within the challenging behavioural unit, so I was helping residents with like dementia. And then I got a job after I finished my masters, working as an A&E assistant in a hospital. So I was like taking bloods from patients, like cannulating them, doing ECGs. So yeah, that's the work experience I had for
So
medicine.
it sounds like you have a wealth of different aspects of the NHS, and I guess in that's what drove the idea of studying medicine further.
Yeah. So I got to kind of like rotate, like so I worked in the community care home and then I worked in a hospital, and then yeah, so all of that just made me see like the beauty of medicine, and it just made me want to study it even more.
Perfect. So I guess moving on to the second part of your application, which would be the admissions test, which gets most people.
Yeah.
Well, what admissions test did you sit? Would it just be the BMAT or?
Yeah, so I sat the UKCAT, so now known as the UCAT, at A level, and then also after I did my degree, and then I sat the BMAT as well for Brighton, and then I also did the GAMSAT. So I've done all three of them at some point. Yeah.
Perfect. So I guess it's a perfect opportunity to get your opinion on how you found the different exams, and like almost like the positives and negatives of each exam personally. Like, how did you feel between the whole three of them?
Okay, so my favorite exam is the BMAT, because that's what got me an offer at Brighton Medical School. But yeah, if we just go for it like one by one. So the UCAT, I think the UCAT is probably the easiest, like on the day, and you don't really need to study for it like that much. Like, so I usually studied for like the UCAT like for like a month, like 2 weeks to a month. That's what I would give myself to study for it, and it's either like you have it or you don't. I found like with the UCAT, because it's amplitude, so it's not really testing like your knowledge. You can't really cram for it like the GAMSAT or the BMAT. It's just basically doing the practice questions and like timing yourself and making sure that you can answer the questions within the short space of time. So my experience of doing the UCAT, it's either gone like, you know, like like really badly, or I've scored like average in the exam. And the BMAT, I found it straightforward to study for, because on the BMAT website it gives you all the past papers. You can kind of study for it like how you would study for like a uni exam or school exam. The BMAT is quite straightforward. You have your science section, you have your kind of like English humanities section, the essay section, and then you have like a UCAT kind of section, like an amplitude section. So and it's quite a short exam. So I found it quite easy to study for the BMAT and get a good score. It was just a GAMSAT. The GAMSAT is just it's just a horrible exam.
Yeah.
It's very long, it lasts the whole day, and yeah, my experience of doing it, like I think kind of had to study for it like for the whole summer to get like a good enough score. I managed to get one interview with my GAMSAT score, but I've never really done like very well in the GAMSAT. But I think GAMSAT also is just practice and going over the past paper questions as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the trifecta of these exams is, it's okay at undergrad level because the vast amount of medical schools out there. However, when it comes to graduate entry, you've only got limited places,
Yeah.
and on top of that, there's only limited unis that'll, for example, accept the UCAT, or then they'll accept the BMAT and the GAMSAT also. So just to move on, I'm guessing, how did you strategize picking between the universities, and is there any tips that you give on that?
Yeah, so I think there is definitely some strategy involved when it comes to deciding what unis to apply to. I think initially I did have favourites. I wanted to get into particular unis. I wanted to be in London, but then I thought about it and I was just like, what's going to get me into medical school is applying to my strengths. So knowing that I'm good at the BMAT, I applied to unis that what required the BMAT. And the year that I got like an average score in the UCAT, I made sure that I applied to some unis that basically their UCAT threshold like wasn't that high. Like they just needed like an average score. So there's quite a few unis. You just really just have to do your research and kind of just put like your pride aside and apply to unis that you actually have an opportunity at getting an offer like from, instead of just saying, oh, I want to go to, for example, like Imperial, or I want to be in London, or I want to go to the same uni as one of my friends. Like you kind of just have to apply to your strengths when it comes to like the entrance exams and deciding where to apply.
Yeah, and I guess that's due to the competitiveness and the bottleneck that's actually that's presented with graduate entry. medicine, obviously.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have up to 30 applicants per one place before interview, and is it worthwhile? Obviously, if that's you playing to your strengths, then you're going to come out on top. However, the other 29 applicants you've got to beat to get that place. So, is it worth playing to your strengths and putting your pride to the side? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you go to Imperial, Warwick, Edinburgh, you're all going to be a doctor at the end of the day with the same degree. So, obviously, we've talked about the admissions test. Were there any like particular resources you found useful whilst revising for all of the admissions?
Yeah, so for the UCAT, so there's this book called, I think, 1,200 questions. Yeah, that book is just like, it's just a standard for UCAT, and it's just been around for such a long time, even when I was doing my A-levels. Now you have like online question banks such as like Medify and a few other ones. So I think it's good to use both, so the books and also like the online question banks, because if you're somebody that needs to actually be in practice under those conditions to score well, then I think something like Medify for the UCAT would be really good for you. And then they actually have a way in which you can like time yourself, and then like some of the questions actually represent the questions that you get on the actual day. So yeah, I think for UCAT, online question banks and that the 1,200 question books is good. BMAT, I would say past papers. Past papers, they have so many past papers on the website. The BMAT. On the BMAT website, there's so many past papers that you can do. There's also a BMAT book. It's a blue book that's actually written by the people that conduct the BMAT exam. So obviously get that one as well. And then there's also like a similar like question book as well. I've forgotten like the name, but there's also like a green book where they have like questions as well for the BMAT, similar to the UCAT. So yeah, for BMAT, the questions, the past paper questions are very important. And the GAMSAT, there's so much materials like all over the internet for that. There's like Des O'Neill, there's that GradMed book, the gold standard for GAMSAT. Some people use that and they find it really helpful. I don't know. I found it okay. I didn't think it was like the best book, but it gives you like the basic like knowledge for like the sciences and stuff, and it gives you like some questions as well. And it's a really chunky book, but it's quite expensive. But yeah, a lot of people do use that book as well. GAMSAT also, they have past paper questions. It's a very expensive exam as well, and I think you have to pay for some of the past papers. So yeah, but the past papers are helpful for GAMSAT.
Yeah, and I guess this is going back to playing against your strengths. Obviously, the UCAT is the easiest exam to sit. It's the most well, it's a cheap exam and it's the most easiest exam to sit. However, with some universities asking for like 2,800, 2,900 just as like a cut-off point, sometimes it becomes slightly unfeasible for most students. And again, with the BMAT, how did you find? Because what I found with the GAMSAT is they don't really give you strict like headings of you need to know this subject, and this subject.
Yeah.
How did you find that compared to the BMAT? Obviously, people suggest the gold standard has the right information, or even just revising normal GCSE to A-level content is enough. How did you find that compared to the BMAT when it comes to revision? Do they give you more of like strict guidelines on what you need to know for each section?
Yeah, so with the BMAT, they actually have on the website an assumed knowledge resource where they literally give you, it's like an online CGP like book where like they give you like the content that you need to know for the science section. So it's like, so you can just go through that online and it's completely free. Whereas the GAMSAT, yeah, it is a bit all over the place when it comes to like what should I know. And that's why I say, like, when you're studying for the GAMSAT, look at the past papers. And I can't remember if there is an outline or like a spec for GAMSAT, but definitely for the BMAT, there was a spec where they will literally tell you the things that you should know, for like the chemistry section, the biology section, and the physics. Because I think that's the bit that people really struggle on. But GAMSAT, it really is. I think maybe they do it on purpose because they assume that as a graduate you would know what to study. But BMAT is
Yeah.
more targeted for A-level students, so they do provide a lot of guidance, and obviously it's not as expensive. So
Yeah, and I guess the BMAT's more feasible in that aspect for students. I guess obviously having a reflection on what all of the exams, what do you think you did particularly well, and is there anything you thought you could have like improved on for each exam?
yeah, so my strongest point was like the essay section, like both for the GAMSAT and the BMAT, because I'm quite good with like writing, and I studied like English at A level. So yeah, the essay section, like I think that's section 1 or 2 in the GAMSAT. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you have like the reading section. I did well. And then I think the science section, it's easier when you've just finished your degree or when you're doing your degree with the GAMSAT to do well in that. I think if you've left education, it's like you have to go over all of that material, the science material again. So yeah, so I would say the humanities section, my best sections, and then this science section, it's just not knowing. I think what my weakness was just not knowing what to revise. So I ended up like spending a lot of time revising things that I probably didn't get assessed on in the exam.
Yeah. So it begs the question of did you find the BMAT, obviously because it's targeted at a lower grade than the GAMSAT, did you find the core content easier, like at a lower level than what you're required to know for the GAMSAT?
Yeah, definitely. It is at a lower level. It's kind of GCSE / first year A level difficulty. It's not as hard as the GAMSAT. GAMSAT, some people compare it to first year of uni, like the level. But yeah, I definitely found the BMAT easier.
Perfect time. I guess moving on to your interview stages, which universities did you secure an interview at?
Yeah, so okay, this is going like a while now, but so the first interview I managed to get was at Brighton and Sussex Medical School during the third year of my degree. Yeah, that did go well. And then I had an interview for the ScotGem program, so St Andrews and Dundee, the 4-year graduate program. And then I also had an interview at Anglia Ruskin University. And yeah, I think that was, and then obviously Brighton and Sussex again. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because you've almost gone full circle back
Yeah.
to where you started.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I ended up getting an offer from Brighton and Sussex, even though they rejected me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, so you applied to both undergrad and graduate entry. So were you planning on to study undergrad as well as like a second option?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to get into a graduate program because of the funding issue. So as you know, like 5 year, you have to kind of pay for your tuition for 4 years of the degree, and then the fifth year is funded by the NHS, and then the graduate you just have to contribute like 3,000 towards the first year of your tuition fee, and then the rest of the course is funded. So I was very set on getting into graduate entry program, and that's why I did the GAMSAT. However, it is so competitive, the graduate entry, and there's not that many places. So yeah, so in the end, I just decided to go for the undergrad.
Yeah, perfect. And again, it's speaking to people like yourself and the previous guest. I've almost realised that it is a feasible option to go and study an undergrad 5 year, and if that be work on the side or have a obviously previous employment to fund that, it's still feasible to actually go and study medicine without having to almost put your life on hold and just keep taking the examinations year after year until you eventually get in.
Yeah.
So if you're applying for an undergrad 5 year, you already have that 1+ against everybody coming out of A level, so your chances are much higher.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody, like the doctor that I shadowed about 10 years ago now, he actually told me, like, why don't you, apply for a 5 year, why don't you aim to apply for 5 years instead of graduate, because it's so competitive. But at the time I was like, no, like I don't want to go through the 5 year program. It's so long, it's like an additional year and stuff. But once you get into medical school, you see there's not really that much difference. And there's a lot of grads on my course at the moment that are doing the same thing. Like they're working, they're studying. It's not the easy option, but it's, it is doable. And I would say that, if you really want to get into a graduate entry program, like at least apply for like 1 or 2 5-year programs alongside the graduate entry, so you have like a backup just in case you don't get into the graduate program.
Yeah, for sure. And it's trying to make this information available to, well, everybody who will be a graduate in that. Yes, it is feasible for people to work,
Yeah.
but is it worth? It's dependent on, is it worth that stress of obviously you working in a med degree? Like,
Mm-hmm.
as just as a generalization, how have you found the course content? And obviously, if somebody was working on the side of it, would it be feasible to balance both of them?
Yeah. So in terms of like the course content for medicine at the moment, I would say it is intense. It is a lot, but it's, if I compare it to like the biomed degree that I did, it's quite similar.
Okay.
It's just maybe like a level up to how I was studying before. It's just like content wise, there's so much to learn, but in terms of like difficulty, it's not that much harder than a biomed like degree. It's just there's so much information that you need to learn, and then you also have like other aspects, so like social aspect, the patient facing aspect of it. Um, so you have all these like different parts of the degree, and it's just balancing all of it. It is doable. Like you can definitely work. There are people doing it. I'm working as a healthcare assistant on the weekends, and then using like my weekdays to do the course. So it is quite intense for me, but it's not like it's not like it's not impossible.
Yeah.
And I still have time to do other things. Like I'm very much involved with like university life as well. But I'm just trying to manage everything at the moment. So I think you just have to have really good time management if you're going to work and you're going to study.
Perfect. And I guess you've got the almost the perfect work life balance in that you're doing a healthcare assistant job and you're studying medicine. So I
Yeah,
guess that really does like intercalate together.
yeah. That's what I wanted, because there are other jobs that you can do. uni. Like you can do like tutoring, you can do so many other, you can work in retail, you can do stuff with the university. But I specifically wanted to still work in like a hospital because I knew that it would help me with my degree and with like the patient facing skills that I needed to develop. So that's why I chose healthcare assistant. And yeah, I am actually even starting to see how it's helping me, because we're doing, for our clinical skills, like workshops, like we're doing like different like examinations, like cardiovascular history taking, and every time I'm meeting a patient at work, I'm practicing these skills, so it's helping me as well.
Yeah, I think it's almost you're learning the theory in the classroom, and you're able to practice it before anybody has the opportunity anyway to practice it, because you're already employed in that situation. So not only do you have a one up within your degree and your knowledge of like science in general, you also have the opportunity to practice more of the stuff you've learned in the classroom within your employment.
Yeah, and it's really useful now, especially because now with like COVID, like a lot of our placements have been like suspended because like they've prioritized like the fourth and fifth year. So we don't really have the opportunity to do like GP placements at the moment. But because I'm still working in the hospital, I can still practice and like do my clinical skills. So yeah, it is definitely advantageous in that sense.
Perfect. And I guess going back to talk about your interviews, were they all MMI style, or did you have any like panel interviews as well?
Yeah, so the first interview I had with Brighton Sussex Medical School was a panel interview. They've changed it now, but yeah, it was a panel interview of like 3 interviewers. And then the ScotGem program was my first MMI experience. Anglia Ruskin was also MMI, and then Brighton again, they changed it to MMI. So yeah, I've had both.
So it does seem as a whole all medical schools are going to go to MMI, just because it's more, you don't have to build that rapport, and they can test you on a lot of different things rather than just obviously being a normal standard traditional interview. So I guess talking about the MMI style, how did you find the MMI style as a whole?
Well, yeah, it was very interesting. When I first did it, I was just like very nervous because it sounds quite intense, being interviewed by like 10 different people, and then you have stations, and then it's like 5 minutes, and then you move on to that station. It sounds very intimidating, but um, it was okay in the sense that like once you've done like a couple of stations, you kind of get used to it. And if you're somebody like structure, then MMI is like perfect, because like you have one station that asks you about, you know, your motivation, and they'll have another station about, you know, another criteria that they're assessing, and then so you just move on, and then it's kind of like different. You get like a new chance to, you know, impress the interviewers. Whereas in the panel, it's like if it starts off wrong, then I think you're kind of screwed for the whole interview. So yeah, so I was it at first I was quite intimidated by the whole MMI experience, but then afterwards, like when I did it at Anglia Ruskin and then I did it again at Brighton Sussex, I kind of got the hang of it, and I was just like, you know what, this is actually good. If you actually prepare for it, then it's much more easier than the panel.
And going back to that, it's more of you don't have a lot of time with the MMIs. You get, if that be 2 minutes to answer one question. You don't necessarily get that with a traditional interview, so you have to be more to the point with the MMIs. How did you find that? How did you find like the time structure? Obviously, you have to be much more prepared with an MMI.
Yeah, I actually missed one interview out. So I actually had an interview for UBA as well, University of East Anglia as well. So that in that interview, it was like 5 minutes per station in comparison to the Brighton one that had 10 minutes. So when I did that, I felt so time pressured. Because literally they will cut you off after the 5 minutes. Like they will literally cut you off. So if you didn't finish saying what you wanted to say, it's just that's it, and then you just move on. And I just felt so, I don't know, I felt so defeated because I had all these like good things that I wanted to say about my work experience, and then it's just like, nope, move on to the next station. But it's good in a way because it forces you to be concise and just like get to the point. And if you think about it, like they don't really have time because they're interviewing so many different people. So yeah, I think you just have to train yourself to just speak for that period of time and just try to get your point across concisely.
Perfect. And I guess it's trying to teach you to. It's almost a reverse of you don't really have time to build that rapport with each interviewer because by the time you've done that, you've wasted almost half your time. So it's trying to, as you said, trying to be concise and just getting the key information that you want them to hear. So 'cause unfortunately, that's what scores you the higher points at the end of the day.
Yeah, answer the question, because I think another and like where people like make mistakes is like not answering the question that's asked, answering the question that they want to be asked. And yeah, it's just getting straight to the point. So if they ask you like, why do you want to study medicine? I want to study medicine because I like helping people, not like, okay, so when I was in school, and then like not like diverting from the point, like just be like very thorough. And yeah, it's literally because they have a mark scheme, so literally they're just trying to see if you fit into like what they're scoring for. So that's what you really need to look out for when you do your interviews.
Yeah, and with the MMIs, more like role play situations have become more prevalent. So, did you get any role play stations?
Yeah, I did at um, St Andrews and Dundee, and also UEA as well. Yeah, and Anglia Ruskin.
Okay,
I got
and
PlayStation. Yeah.
and I guess most people find it very like obscure to be almost acting in an interview.
Yeah.
So, how did you approach them, and how did you like find the role play interviews?
Uh, I'm quite bad at acting, but I had practiced before. I was kind of prepared. I was like, maybe I might get a role play station. So I just tried to kind of put myself in the situation. So, like for example, I'm not actually going to say the exact
Yeah.
role play, but for example, if I was like, if it said like you need to like speak to your friend and like comfort them, then I would put myself in that situation, maybe give them like a tissue or something, just really like commit to that role. It's not really about acting like a doctor, acting like a medical student. Sometimes they just want you to act like yourself, just to see who you are as a person, your character. But yeah, so yeah, I just really went for it, and just like followed it through, and try not to get distracted by the people. Like sometimes they have like like a third interviewer, like somebody that is just on standby. So I just try to not like get distracted by anybody else and just did my own thing.
For sure. So, would you say it's almost they're testing you on your background knowledge of, say, they can ask you 10 ways or 100 ways to break bad news, but they're actually testing you the the knowledge of you knowing how to break bad news. And once you actually know how to break bad news
Yeah.
properly, you can almost do it to anybody. So from your experience, would you say it's more of them testing you on the background knowledge of how to break bad news or how to roughly like take a patient's notes, etc.?
I think it's both. So obviously they're assessing you. They're assessing you like to see if you would fit as a medical student, as a doctor. So they're assessing like your approach to breaking bad news. Like, would you like first introduce yourself? How would you go about it? Would you first like, start off quite lighthearted before going into like the the serious aspect of it? Like, how do you approach the situation? And sometimes people do it naturally, and I think that's what they want. They don't want they don't want somebody that is like that has been like coached. So they're trying to just see naturally, are you a person that's empathetic, caring, and they're seeing, but they don't expect you to know it all. So even if you just like demonstrate some sort of empathy, then like you would get marked up for it.
Yeah, sure. So I guess moving on, looking back now, is there anything you wish you would have known before, like beginning your degree as a med student?
Before I got into medical school, yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, I think I worded it wrong. So throughout going through the application, is there anything you would have wish you would have known before? Obviously, you've gone through the application now. Is there anything you wish you would have known before starting the application?
Yeah, so I would have like I said before, I would have applied to my strengths like straight away and just applied to the medical schools that I could get into like from the beginning, because then I might have gotten in sooner. Um, I wouldn't have wasted my time doing all three entrance exams. Like, I think last year I did only the UCAT and the BMAT. I didn't do the GAMSAT because I was just like, I'm not getting like a good enough score for these for the programs, and plus I want to apply for undergrad anyway. So I just focused on the two. So I think just being very specific, because if you take all three exams, you're just gonna like burn yourself out, and sometimes you don't even need all of them. So just being really specific, choosing the medical school, I would have like chosen the medical school like very carefully, um, and just spoken to more like medical students uh, at like different unis. Yeah, because I think I had a lot of support when I was applying to medical school from like my friends, my families, but and like some of the doctors that I'd come across, but I didn't actually speak to medical students at medical school, and they have a lot of knowledge to share about the whole like application process and what to do, what not to do, especially like first years, because they've been through it. Like, they're the best people
Yeah.
to speak to. They've literally just got into medical school. Doctors, people in like final years doctors, they don't have like a fresh memory of the application process. They can tell you what they kind of did, but they don't have it fresh in their head. So yeah, I would have spoken to medical students more, and just try to like network with more people. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I guess this is what this whole graduate entry society is based upon. Obviously, yes, I've spoken to doctors who have been a GP for like 30 odd years, but unfortunately, their admissions was totally different to what it is now. So I try to focus on speaking to people who are medical students, and particularly people in their first, second, third year, because that's that's when everything changed really. 3 years
Yeah.
ago was totally different to what it is like now. So I I do totally agree with you on even just speaking to people that have gone through it, because at the end of the day, me speaking to you now, you've successfully got there. So
Yeah.
you must have done something right. And I think the best people to speak to are the people that have already done it and successfully done it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess obviously you've been in med school for almost a year now, almost half a year now. So, are there any like particular myths or misconceptions that you thought were like stigmatized within med schools, and which have obviously been broken?
Yeah, so the first one is so before I got into medical school, people always said, medical students don't have a life, they don't have a social life. And yeah, that is not true. I found that like within the first week of medical school. Medical students are just like other students, and we all have like different personalities in our year. Like we all have different personalities, different interests. We aren't just like eating, breathing, sleeping medicine like 24/7. We have other things that we're doing, and you can do other things whilst at medical school. We have like different societies. You can work, you can tutor, you can do other things. You can like still keep up with like your hobbies if you want to play football, if you want to join a dance society. So it's you do have a social life. It is basically what you make of it. If you decide I'm going to go to medical school and all I'm going to do is study, um, like for the whole time, then you can do that. If you decide I'm going to make time to have a social life, then you can do that as well. um the second myth I would say is that um before coming to medical school, people told me that medical school was like really, really, really hard, and like only smart people do it, or like you need to, like, I don't know, like made it sound like you had to be smart like all your life to study
Yeah,
medicine, and it's not true. Like once you come to medical school, you see like obviously people have gotten into medicine through like different routes. Some people got in through like A levels, some people did an access course, some people did like a degree and stuff. And it's not really, medical school is not really about, it's not really just about like intelligence. Like obviously you need to be able to process like the information and study and stuff and have like be able to study. But you don't have to be like Einstein to to do medicine or like to do well in the exam. You just have to be willing to learn and willing to like study. So yeah, I think that's something that people should just stop saying, that medical students are like geniuses and stuff. Like we're just like normal people who just work hard, basically.
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Obviously, I think it's partly down to the competitiveness, and then also partly down to it being stigmatized as well one of the hardest degrees. Obviously, due to its duration and the amount of people actually wanting to be a doctor, as you probably know, it's it's a well, what's the word for it? Everybody has that dream of
Yeah.
being a doctor if they want to work in the healthcare profession. So it's a very rewarding degree in that aspect, and unfortunately that attracts a lot of people. So I guess that's where like the misconceptions come from. I guess obviously you've studied a master's and a degree already. So how did that play to your advantage? How has it played to your advantage during your first few months at medical school?
Yeah, so obviously studying like a science degree, I already had like the basic concepts like down. Like so when we were doing like last time we were doing like molecular cell biology, physiology, infection and immunity. I have a microbiology degree, so I did all of that before, even though it wasn't. I did it quite a few years ago, so I still needed to go over it, but it wasn't like a new concept to me, so I had like an advantage in that sense. And then just in general, like knowing how to like manage my time and not being stressed out by like essay deadlines or exam deadlines, like just knowing that I can get through it. And I think if you haven't done a degree before, it can be quite daunting, like doing your first like essay or like assignment or exam. But I think I was very like chilled about it, and I just, I knew that, I just had to like do it basically. I just gave myself, a period of time to just like get the essay done, study for the exam. So I would say I know how to manage my time now, and I have like previous knowledge on the sciences. So that's been very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's the universities already have acknowledged that you'll have that background knowledge, but you'll also, I guess it's good having the background knowledge, but the main thing is having that. You show you already have that ability to work hard, have that time management, all the things that are incorporated in the background of a degree. So I'm sure that's why most undergraduate degrees are at least a little bit filled with graduates, because the universities do acknowledge that these students are going to succeed anyway because they've already gone through the process once.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think at an interview, if you say you're a graduate, I think like they have so much respect for you for like your determination and your perseverance, but it's just about like using that that advantage now, and showing them like, these are all the things that I've learned, these are all the experience that I come with, at an interview, and just showing them that yeah, you can make a massive contribution to their medical school.
For sure. So I guess so. You work on the side of medicine. So what keeps you motivated through such an intense course like medicine, as well as obviously working on the side?
Keeps me motivated. I would say the main thing that keeps me motivated is my journey, and knowing how much I wanted to do medicine like before, and just thinking about where I've come from. That always motivates me. Every time I feel like I don't want to revise or I don't want to study, I always think about, I've worked so hard to get into medical school. Like I need to study. Secondly, I have a lot of like plans like for the future in terms of like what I want to do like after my like degree, and obviously I want to become a doctor, and in order to do that I need to get through medical school, and to pursue other things I need to finish this degree. So I'm very motivated by like my future goals, and then also my I guess my family and like my friends. I obviously want to make them proud. Yeah, those are the three things.
So it almost seems like you can see that end goal, and I guess that's your most driving factor of just reaching that end goal. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I I guess on the caveat to that, what how do you find how do you find time to plan for like self rest and care? Obviously, is it easy to find time, like downtime? Obviously, working on the side of medical school, like if that be for societies or extracurriculars or just general rest time.
Yeah, it's not easy at all, because it's like I have to balance work, and I have to balance my studies as well. Um, I find that I have more of an opportunity to like rest during the holidays. I try to like give myself like a couple of weeks off, like, where I'm not doing stuff. And I think during term time it is harder, but I'm trying to just like maybe like dedicate like one day a week to just doing things that I enjoy. And it doesn't have to just be like me not doing anything at all. It could just be me doing just doing my hobbies. Like for example, I like to, go on YouTube, I like to go on Instagram and stuff, or I like to like write. So yeah, it could be just me doing stuff like on the side that I enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be just a completely lazy day, but just something that is not related to medicine. I just try to do that like every so often, but it is hard. You have to be really intentional about making time for yourself.
No, yeah, for sure. And just to move on from that, how have you almost found, like, obviously you've been in a biomed degree, you almost know the competitiveness of everybody hitting that 70% or above to get that first, because fortunately they can only hand so many out. How have you found that translate to your degree now? Obviously, anybody who hits above 40% is going to be a doctor at the end of the day. So do you feel like that competitiveness is still there, or is it almost like you've made it, you're there now, as long as you pass, you're all going to graduate with the same degree?
Yeah, so I think when we started, a lot of us were like, yeah, like, let's do really well in our exams and stuff, and let's try to be the best. Like medicine, like from week one, I sensed like the competitiveness of like the whole degree, and everyone like wants to do well, which is understandable. But I think now for me especially, I'm just like, you know what, I just want to pass this degree. And I think, and like talking to other people, they have the same thoughts as well, especially after, because we had an exam um, last term. So I passed thankfully. But yeah, after that, I was just like, I really just want to pass medical school now. But I want to do well. Like obviously, I'm
No,
working hard to do well, but I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't get like a first or distinction every single time. I literally just want to like be a good doctor and learn all the things I need to do. I need to learn in order to do that, basically.
no, yeah, and I totally agree. I guess it's more obvious to yourself rather than the undergraduates that have just come into the degree, that you've you've gone this extra mile to make it. Yes, they've just come from A level to straight to a medicine degree, so they don't almost understand like the pressure and the determination that you've had to actually get there. And do you feel like it was almost like a relief of you've made it now? You've just got to, obviously you don't want to just hit the passes. You want to get as high a grade as possible, but almost taking like a step up the ladder. Obviously, I don't know what it's like personally
Yeah.
because I'm still going through the application process. But was it? I guess my question is: was it almost like a sense of relief that you've made it now, and that you just got to hit that next goal?
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely a relief. Like somebody said to me like ages ago, like the hardest part about medical school is getting in. And I didn't understand until until now. But yeah, no, honestly, you just have to get through it. It's just one of those things. Just get through the exams, study what you have to study, and just get through it. Like I'm not really I'm not really like that competitive. Like I don't mind if I like pass and then like the person next to me like gets full marks. I won't be like really really sad. I would just be really happy that I passed. And yeah, I just have that attitude because there's so many other things that I want to do alongside medicine. So for me, it's like if I can pass medical school, become a good doctor, and also like pursue other things that I want to do, then that that for me is like making it. I would have like achieved my goal.
For sure, perfect. So I guess as one of the final questions is, what's your vision going into the future then? Like, where can you see yourself going?
So, okay, I don't really want to box myself in any
Yeah,
specific speciality because I know like that's the mistake a lot of people make, and then they decide like further down the line they don't want to do anything to do with that speciality. But so far, I'm interested in like mental health, psychiatry. I'm interested in emergency medicine. I'm interested in obs and gynae and dermatology. But if you were to ask me, like, what would I choose, today, like now, if I had to make a choice, I would say psychiatry. I'm very passionate about mental health and well-being, and yeah, I just see myself doing something around that in the future as a doctor, even if it's as a GP, or actually working within psychiatry. That would be great. And yeah, just pursuing my other interests. So I like writing, I like blogging, I like um, educating people. Yeah, so just doing other things on the side as well, I would say.
No, yeah, and obviously you've experienced now the almost the fluidity of being able to study. Obviously, being a doctor is just a starting point. You can be from a GP to a surgeon. There's so much choice within the actual career, which I guess almost gets blindsided by. So the application process, all you know is you've got to get there and apply. And from speaking to yourself and the previous guests, it's almost given an insight of once you actually get there, you never have to go through the application process again. You
Yeah,
just keep climbing that ladder. Obviously, you graduate and then you get to your F1, and then you almost have this whole career ahead of you. And fortunately, every doctor is needed at some part. No doctor is unneeded. So no matter what specialty you pick, you're always gonna have a job there available, which I guess again is one of the most attractive parts of becoming a doctor, is the job security and almost the freedom to do what you please within the career.
yeah, you can do so many things. You can do so many things. Like doctors, as you know, like they're high in demand, so like you won't really have a problem with any speciality, apart from surgery, because that's
Yeah.
very competitive. So, but yeah, like you can pick anything. So I think that's one of the nicest parts of like medicine, the fact that you can literally do anything, and then you have that security that I have a medical degree, and then like I can do other things as well.
Yeah, perfect. So I guess for future medical students watching this video, are there any like golden pieces of advice you'd give them, like just going through the application process?
Yeah. So first thing I would say is don't be disheartened, especially like if you apply and you get rejected. Um, don't be disheartened. Like, I know so many people that have applied and been rejected, like the first time, the second time. I was rejected like so many, like 5 times. Um, but yeah, like don't use that rejection as validation for why you can't be a doctor. Um, Use it as something, as a tool to make you stronger for like your future applications. And if you did get to the interview stage, I would say try to get feedback on why the interview didn't go so well, and improve on that for future applications. Or if it was the UCAT or the GAMSAT that you struggled with and you didn't meet the threshold for that application cycle, then try to improve on that. So just, yeah, don't get disheartened by rejections, and then like try to improve for next time.
Yeah, for sure. I guess finally, for people starting out their first few days at Brighton, what would be your take-home tips for those students?
The first few weeks or first few days.
Uh,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I'll say try to get involved as much as you can with like the university, um, in terms of like the societies. Get to know like the different societies and committees that you can join. There's so many, and I'm sure like every medical school like has like different like societies that you can join. So try to get involved with that. Speak to make friends with other medical students, like speak to them, speak to your housemates, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to make friends with just medics. Right now we don't really have an option because of COVID. So how Brighton and Sussex did it was like they put us in a accommodation with like just like medical students. So far I've really only just met medical students, but definitely next year I think I will like also like speak to people on like other courses as well. But yeah, just make the most of every opportunity. Just try to also like keep up with your other like interests and your hobbies and stuff. Don't make medical school like your world. Explore the city that you're in. So Brighton, we have like a nice we have like beach, the pier, and we have like other areas which are like really beautiful. Like people come to Brighton like for holiday, so it's literally the best place to be. So yeah, there's so much that you can do. Just enjoy it, have a good time, and yeah, pass your exams.
For sure. Again, I'd just like to say thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come speak with me. It's been a real eye opener, and I think your story is almost really inspiring in that you've had all these rejections, yet you've persevered and almost like motivated yourself to just keep applying. Obviously, you did your bachelor's and then your master's, and then you got employment, but you still wanted to come back to study medicine. And I love how it went full circle of you getting rejected in the beginning from Brighton, now ending up back there. So
thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to speak on your channel. And I really hope that it's useful for the people that are applying, and good luck, all the best with your application. I'm sure you'll get in, and I'm sure you'll make a great doctor as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
thank you. So for our viewers, can they find you anywhere or ask you any questions if needed?
Yeah, so my social media handle is Fuller's Medicine. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter and also YouTube. And also you can also contact me as well. So adama.fuller1@gmail.com. So if you have any like questions that you want to ask me, you can either send me a DM on Instagram, or you can like email me, and yeah, I will respond.
That's perfect. Thank you for that, Adama.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
All right then, bye.
Bye bye.